Hey everybody, it's Travis speaking. In this segment of our Revit series, we're going to take a look at defining wall assemblies. And from the last video, if you've been following along, you'll notice that we drew in a foundation wall and put a couple interior partitions in place. And so what I want to do is go in there and we'll just take a look and see how these fit with what is in our existing DWG. So what I like to do sometimes, if I'm not looking at it in Revit already, let me go back to this basement here, is take a look at the difference in the wall thickness that I'm showing from my DWG versus that which I've put in here from Revit. So as you can see with this interior partition, it doesn't exactly line up, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. This might not have been drawn entirely accurately in the first place. So what I want to do here is just I'm going to come into this wall here first. So if I want to find the distance in something in Revit, I'm going to go to my Modify tab and choose this measurement tool. And right now this wall is going from this point to this point from my DWG. Well, in residential construction, for an interior partition, I don't think this is going to be the case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace these two walls with 2x6s. And I'm going to have drywall on either side. So I'm going to have 1/2 inch drywall on both sides for 1 inch. And then I'm going to have a 5.5 inch wood stud, which is going to give me 6.5 inches. So let's take a look at this wall. I select this wall, and if I come up here to my type selector, it's saying it's a basic wall interior 5.5 inch. Well, I need to make a new one. So I'm going to say edit type. And in the dialog box that comes up, I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to call it interior partition, and whether it's load bearing or not, I'm not too concerned. I'm just going to put in the wood lumber here, so 2x6. Okay, so you'll notice that the type changes here, and this is going to be my new wall. So I'm going to come in here to structure where it says edit. I click on that. And I've already got some of the stuff that I need here. So gypsum wallboard, I want that to stay there, but on the inside or the one face, exterior and interior side of this isn't going to really matter because it's going to be the same thing. But I'm going to change that to 1/2 inch. And then in between core boundary, which is defining the core of my wall or the structure, I'm going to change this to wood. So I just select there's a little hidden box there right beside where it says metal stud layer. If I click on where it says metal stud layer, I'm going to get the options to change this material. And it's taking forever because my computer isn't that quick. Okay, so here we go. I should have my materials anytime. Okay, so let's just bring this into the view. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in lumber, softwood lumber, and you can't see it here. Let me resize that. So I'm just choosing softwood lumber, and I'm going to go to OK, and now that's going to give me the material that I need, and I'm going to specify this as 5 1/2 for my stud thickness. And then I've got an extra layer of gypsum wallboard here that I don't need, so I'm just going to select it and hit delete. And under this layer of drywall, I'll just change that value to 1/2 inch. So I'm okay for that. If I want to take a look at it, I can come down here to preview, and it'll give me an idea as to what this looks like in when it's cut in section or in plan. So I'll say OK, OK, and now it's filled that up, and it's going over by 1/2 inch. Okay, so I can come over here and grab this wall as well, and then from the type selector I'll just locate my new type here, which is interior partition. And you'll notice that whenever I made that change, it moved out the opposite way. Now this is because of the location line. So if I come up here and I change the location line to finish face exterior, then it moves it to the other side. But really what I want is to just make sure that this line, this grid line, is where this outside face of the gypsum wallboard is. So just use the align tool. I first select the grid line, my reference, and then the line that I want to move. Okay, so that's our interior partition. Let's take a look at this foundation wall. As you can see, it's a little bit thicker than in our DWG than what we have for this wall. So let's make a new one. What I'm going to typically do is find that wall type that is closest to what I'm after. So I'm going to make this foundation wall out of concrete masonry units. So let's see if there's one in here already. I've got one that's exterior CMU on metal stud. So the one that I'm going to be creating is going to be a concrete masonry unit, and it's going to have wood studs on the inside. So let's start off with this one, and notice how it changes quite considerably, but it moves to the outside, and that's because the location line that I've chosen is interior face. Right, so that's actually what we want, but we need to duplicate and create a new version of this. So again, duplicate, and I'm going to call this foundation I just call it foundation wall. It's going to all be the same. So there might already be one called foundation. No, it's unique, so I'm okay with that. The name, I just want to come back in here to structure, and I'm going to make the modifications. Now notice I didn't touch on this really before, but there's an exterior side and an interior side, and if you look here, that's relative to the chart. So right now it's got this concrete masonry unit on the exterior side. I'm going to need some more stuff in there. So that concrete masonry unit, it's actually going to be my core as well. So maybe what I'll do is I'll just take a look at the inside. I do want gypsum wallboard, so I'm going to leave that as is. I do want the vapor barrier in there, and you'll notice that that has a 0 thickness. That's because it's got a membrane classification. So membrane classifications don't actually have a thickness to them. Now inside the stud, or the structure, is where I want my concrete masonry unit to be. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to change this to concrete masonry units. Okay. And for the substrate on the outside, oh, I'm missing something here. Okay. So on the inside of this, I'm going to want this to be an insulated foundation wall, so I also need to insert a stud layer. So in here, with this selected, I'm going to say insert, and it's giving me another category here, another line item. I need this to be let's say substrate, because it's not actually going to be structural, because these are only going to be, should I just strap it? Yeah, I could just do this with no, we'll go with the 4 inches. So the actual value is going to be 3.5 inches for a 2x4 stud. And then again, I'm just going to type in LUM. It should find lumber for me. Okay. And I'm going to change my concrete masonry units to 8 inches. And let's just move up here. So we have plywood sheathing. I don't really think I'm going to need that, so I'm going to delete that. And we have waterproofing membrane, air barrier. I don't really need air barrier here. What I do need is another membrane. So I'm going to change membrane, and I'm going to go find the appropriate item here. So this is a waterproofing that I'm looking for. Really, you can choose anything really. These don't have to be entirely accurate, but what I do want, it's not a vapor retarder. Anyway, maybe I shouldn't get too over concerned about what this is, because basically what they'll put in there is a a mat, a drainage mat, and that lets water go down. So, do they have anything for damp proofing? Perfect. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to put the damp proofing in there. That's not going to be that much. It'll be, I'll say, 1/2 inch. And then the finish, there would be a parge coat at some point, so let's put in 3/8, and I'm going to change that to I don't know if they have a parge, but I could just use I'll just put concrete in there and it'll give it the same sort of look. Okay, so now I can see my assembly here and it looks pretty close to what I want. Let's hit OK. Oh, and it's giving me an error message. Membrane layer requires 0 thickness. That's this one right here. So I'll change that to 0. Okay. And now it goes over just by 3/8. So that's probably the difference. And now that I've got that one all figured out, I'll simply select my other 3 walls and I'll change them to this new one that I created called Foundation. Okay, so there you have it. We've defined a foundation wall and an interior partition, and there's some other really neat tools in there like creating sweeps and reveals, but that's a little bit more advanced, so maybe we'll save that for another time. Anyway, if you have any comments or questions, please leave them below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks for watching. Bye now.